Hi you guys, welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Sage Rose, but my friends call me Gigi. You can call me Sage Rose, you can call me Sage, you can call me Gigi. Doesn't really matter to me. But you guys, I've been getting really bad mosquito bites. Like, look at this. I have some on my neck, I have some on my face, I'm getting them on my arms, on my back. I'm like, why are the mosquitoes always getting me? Because this is not something that just has happened this one time. Like, I don't think there's been a time in the past few months where I haven't had at least like 3 mosquito bites on me. I don't know what it is. Is it my blood type? Is it my scent? Like, I don't know. Also, I had posted a clip from my last video, Why Good Enough is a Waste of Time. I posted clips of that onto Reels, and automatically, like, my Reels post to Threads. And so I actually got my first hate comments. And I was like, oh my God. I'm assuming that these comments were coming from men, because the first one was like, she's not saying anything important. She just wanted us to see the interior of the car. We see you, right? And so I responded and I was just like, oh, like, I'm so glad you like the interior. Like, hope you like it as much as I do. And then the second guy was like, might be true, but since women place their value on the interior of their car, and as they get older, they lose their value. Like, it was just so fucking crazy. They lose their value, so her claims are revocable and like refutable. I'm like, bitch, I'm not even like trying to say something that's like definitive and true. I'm just trying to help people and give people advice. 1, 2, bruh. My fucking bad. I didn't bring my tripod with me because it didn't fit in my fucking suitcase. And so I'm setting my phone up on the damn magnetic fucking tripod shit in the car. Like, my fucking bad. Is it a crime? And it's just like, why are you hating because you like the red seats? How the fuck does that have anything to do with me or what I'm saying? You guys could have literally just said, I like the seats. I like the seat covers in the car. I called it a day. But no, people want to be fucking miserable. Sorry. I'm getting a little worked up, which is so funny because this video is about the importance of emotional regulation. And, you know, I'm not actually worked up. I'm a little theatrical sometimes. And it was just funny. It was just funny. And I was like, holy shit. But it like reminded me that I am stepping into a new space. Like, I am being, you know, vulnerable and authentic on the internet. And some people have a fucking problem with that shit and find fucking minute things to like nitpick at and try to attack my character. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like, who the fuck are you? But anyways, I digress. I got worked up again. My bad. Anyways, let's start fucking talking about this shit, because I recently had a moment where something going on in my life had completely dysregulated my nervous system. And unfortunately, it was about a boy. Long story short, I was feeling a boy. Said boy was feeling me too. But then I started hearing through the grapevine that he was actually the complete opposite of the person that he had presented himself to me as. And I felt irritated. I felt frustrated. I felt like I was being deceived before I knew if I was actually being deceived. So I started writing. And the first thing that I wrote was, I hate when people pretend to be someone that they're not. And honestly, I felt so strongly about that sentence that I almost made an entire video about deception. But as I kept writing and kept putting my feelings underneath a microscope, I realized something. I actually did not know what was happening inside of his head, because my feelings are mine and his feelings are his. The same way I did not know his exact thoughts, feelings, and intentions were the same way that he did not know exactly what I was thinking and feeling about the situation, because he didn't even know that this situation existed. I had taken an emotional response and began turning it into an emotional truth. And that made me ask myself, how do you experience such a strong emotion without immediately turning it into a fact or a decision or an identity? The answer is emotional regulation. But emotional regulation is not convincing yourself that everything is fine. It's not forcing yourself to be positive. And it's not becoming so detached that nothing affects you. Emotional regulation is learning how to not abandon reality or yourself even when something does not feel okay. Because life is always going to give us experiences that disrupt what we thought we knew. You might not get the job you were certain you were gonna get. Your friends might cancel plans that you were excited about. And this one is a big one for me because I hate flakiness. I hate when plans are getting canceled. That one triggers me so bad. Someone might disappoint you. You might hear something about someone that completely shifts your perception about that person. And even after doing all this work on yourself, you still may become triggered. I thought I had grown to the point where something like this would never affect me again, but it did. Growth does not mean that nothing activates you anymore. Growth means that when something does activate you, you have learned to return to yourself. And I think that process has 5 stages: the trigger, the story, the separation, the return, and the response. The trigger is the moment that something disrupts your understanding of a person, a situation, or even yourself. It is when reality no longer seems to fit the pattern you thought you were seeing. In my situation, it was hearing that this person is deceptive or manipulative, which is the complete opposite of the person that I had experienced. But a trigger could also be rejection. It could be getting your heart broken. It could be your friends canceling on you. Like I said, flakiness is a big one for me personally. It could be receiving criticism when you believed you were doing well. The original picture you had of the situation suddenly changes, and now your mind is left with all of this uncertainty. And our minds do not always enjoy being left with uncertainty. We like recognizable patterns because recognizable patterns make us feel safe. So when something no longer fits the pattern, discomfort appears. And then comes the story. The story is the explanation that your mind creates in order to escape the discomfort of not knowing. Suddenly you are thinking, I'm being played. They were dishonest the entire time. I wasn't deserving of the opportunity. Nobody values me. This always happens to me. Your brain rushes to create certainty because sometimes even a painful explanation feels more tolerable than not having an explanation at all. But we can only build stories using the material that we already have. So when a present situation resembles something painful from the past, our minds often convince ourselves that the same situation, the same story is playing out again. For me, the situation reminded me of times where I had felt lied to, deceived, or made to feel foolish. So I unconsciously cast myself in the same role, the person being fooled, the person losing, the person who cared more. But I had placed myself inside of a story that I could not completely verify. I did not have every piece of information. I had an emotional response, fragments of outside information, and memories of what had happened in the past before. And that does not mean that my emotions were irrational. It just means they were incomplete. Your emotions can reveal something real without explaining the entire reality. That is why I always say your emotional responses are information, not always instruction. They are the beginning of the investigation, not necessarily the final verdict. Anger might reveal a boundary that feels threatened. Disappointment might reveal what you were actually hoping for. Jealousy might reveal an insecurity or an unmet desire. Resentment might reveal that you have been constantly abandoning your own needs. But none of those feelings automatically tell you what happened, what another person intended, or even what you should do next. Because before you act, you need separation. Separation is the ability to distinguish the current event from the older wound that it touched. Ask yourself, what is actually happening right now? And then, what part of my response belongs to something that I've experienced before? In my case, I was afraid that initiating an honest conversation would make me feel powerless because initiating difficult conversations had made me feel powerless in the past. But the current person was not the person from my past, and the current situation was not automatically the same situation. And by assuming I already knew his intentions, I was temporarily taking his individuality away inside my own mind. I had turned him into a character from an old story before giving reality the opportunity to reveal who he actually was. Now, this does not mean abandoning your intuition. It does not mean ignoring warning signs or convincing yourself that everyone has good intentions. It simply means acknowledging the difference between something feels wrong and I know exactly what is happening. Sometimes your interpretation will be correct. Sometimes it'll be completely wrong. Often, it will contain pieces of truth mixed with fear, memory, and assumption. That is why curiosity matters. Instead of immediately asking, how do I make this feeling go away? Ask, what is this feeling trying to show me? What value of mine feels threatened? What previous experience does this remind me of? What do I actually know? What am I assuming? What information would I need before making a decision? For me, writing helps. When I experience something emotionally overwhelming, I write it down because writing allows me to see how I'm actually feeling instead of only being inside of it. I can watch my thoughts change on the page. I can notice when I contradict myself. I can distinguish fear from evidence, and intuition from assumption. Talking to trusted people can help too, but nobody else should decide your emotions or your next move for you. Other people can offer perspective, but you need to be able to trust yourself enough to hold your own hand through the discomfort. And then, once you've separated the event from the old wound, you have to return. Returning means remembering who you are outside of the outcome. Because outside of the rejection, the disappointment, the shift in perception, the story you created, you are still you. You are still your own person with your own values, relationships, interests, humor, routines, talents, dreams, and desires. You are not the disappointment you felt when you did not get the job. You are not the sadness you felt when someone hurt you. You are not the anxiety you felt when something did not go according to plan. Those emotions are experiences occurring within you, but they are not the totality of who you are. When I was writing through my own feelings, I began listing every single thing that I knew about myself. I'm someone who likes to read. I'm someone who likes to write. I like to go to the gym. I like to make little videos for people to help them understand themselves a little better. I like brain games. I like doing my makeup. I like hanging out with my friends. I like saying my affirmations in the mirror. I like imagining and visualizing the person that I want to become. I am a full person. Whether somebody doesn't want a relationship with me doesn't subtract from that. Whether somebody develops feelings for me does not add to that. Those things may affect my experience, but they do not determine my value or my identity. Returning to yourself does not mean that you suddenly stop caring. It means you remember that whatever happens next will be happening to a whole person, not determining whether you are one. And then comes the final step, the response. Once the emotional intensity has softened, ask yourself, what action reflects my values, not merely my current emotional state? Maybe the grounded response is having a direct conversation. Maybe it's setting a boundary. Maybe it's apologizing. Maybe it's asking for more information. Maybe it's deciding that you do not have enough information and choosing to wait. Maybe it's walking away. And sometimes the response is simply resting before deciding anything at all. Emotional regulation is not passive. It is what allows you to respond intentionally instead of reacting impulsively. Because your first feeling might say, send the paragraph, quit immediately, block them, prove yourself, pretend you do not care. But after moving through the trigger, the story, the separation, and the return, you may realize that the action most aligned with who you are might be completely different. The goal is not to become emotionless, because your emotions are part of what makes you caring and passionate and intuitive and creative and human. The goal is to stop letting temporary emotional states make permanent decisions without your permission. So whenever you are emotionally activated, tell yourself, I do not know enough yet, and I can survive not knowing. You can feel angry without becoming cruel. You can feel afraid without running away. You can feel disappointment without deciding that you are a disappointment. You can feel uncertain without rushing to invent certainty. And you can transform that emotional energy into reflection, honesty, art, discipline, boundaries, rest, or even a necessary conversation. That day, I did not uncover the complete truth about that person or about the situation, but I did uncover something about myself. I learned what still triggers me. I learned why it still triggers me. And I learned that even when I do become emotionally dysregulated, I know how to find my way back. And that is what emotional regulation gives you. Not control over everything that happens around you, but trust that whatever happens, you will not abandon yourself inside of it. But yeah, you guys, that's a little piece on emotional regulation. And I know it's not always fucking sunshine and rainbows all the time. Emotions are like a spectrum. You can feel anger towards something, towards a minor inconvenience, but that anger is amplified in a bigger situation. something that you're dealing with that's a lot heavier than a minor inconvenience. So I know, I understand. But just being able to use these tools no matter what scale of emotion that you're feeling. It's not always going to be immediate. Sometimes you need to emotionally regulate yourself a few times on the same thing. And that's okay too. But just know that you don't need to lose yourself over something that you won't be thinking as heavily about tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. But yeah, this one was a little personal because I have been encountering a lot of like weird shit. Not weird shit, but just stuff that like gets me a little triggered, like for real. So I just wanted to be able to help you guys out if you are feeling like overwhelmed or that your emotions are overbearing in a sense. Overbearing. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I have a few more ideas and videos that I definitely want to do very soon. Definitely want to record very soon. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I love you guys and I hope you have a amazing rest of your day, night, whatever. Keep doing what you love. Keep loving what you do. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.